Hello, class.
Hello.
Hi, teacher.
How are you guys doing today?
Very good.
Wonderful.
Excellent. So, for today's purpose, you will be in my Psychology 300 level. And today, I have a few vocabulary words for us to take a look at. So, the first one is going to be accommodation. Accommodation. Do you guys mind repeating after me? Accommodation.
Accommodation.
Accommodation. Let's write it down. Accommodation. And I'm just going to show you a picture. And by looking at the picture, so disregard this panel, just look at the second one.
The bottom one.
And maybe by looking at the picture, try to figure out the meaning. Anything that jumps out at you?
So the image, the image that the person sees would help them, I would assume, accommodate what their thought is of the particular thing that they're
You're on the
looking
right path.
at. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
The boy sees a horse and a zebra and thinks they're both horses. And the mom points out that, no, there's a zebra there, and then the boy is able to separate horse and zebra as being two different things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think each person has a different image from something in mind. I don't know.
You guys are all kind of in the same ballpark. Basically, so in psychological term for this, basically it's a cognitive process for whenever you have a schema, so we're very familiar with schemas, so when there's a learned schema that you already have in your head, and whenever something new arrives, like I don't know, new information, new event, and you have to accommodate that new information with the previously learned schema. So because they're both kind of, they look alike, right?
Yeah.
Zebras and horses,
Yep.
but the boy only knows horses. He doesn't know that there's another thing such as a zebra. So that's why he has to accommodate the new knowledge and apply it. So now he knows there's a horse and there's a zebra.
Ah, okay.
And this word is kind of tricky because accommodation in an everyday sense has a different connotation to it, right? Accommodation is, you know, you're accommodating, there's a place, someone is staying at that place, something like that. But when it comes to psychology, it has completely different meaning. Moving on to number 2, this one, more simple one. Ego. Ego. Is it ego or ego?
I like egos.
Ego. Ego. And I'll show you a picture of that. Here we go. Any idea what that could be?
So, looks like from the picture given, it looks like the shadow is the gentleman's ego, and sometimes the ego is bigger than the individual.
I concur.
Very true. The picture is a bit misleading though. So an ego is actually the conscious part of your personality that it is responsible for making decisions and dealing with reality
Okay.
on
Okay.
an everyday basis. And then moving on to number 3, we have resilience. So another everyday type of word, but in psychology it means completely different thing. So here's a picture for resilience.
I'm just holding up the boulder.
What could that imply?
It's bigger than usual, but the person is trying to hold it.
gotta be pretty strong to hold up.
But,
that
I mean, don't look at it as like a physical
As a
strength,
thing.
yeah.
Okay, so to be resilient then maybe is no matter what the obstacle is, right, the individual or the person will overcome any obstacle or any sort of challenge that comes their way and is able to accomplish or complete what they're looking for in the
Mhm.
task.
Pretty much, yeah, bingo. The actual definition is an individual's level of protection from risk factors, such as diseases. In psychology, it's usually diseases. To recover from emotional difficulties or trauma. So if you have high resilience, that means you can overcome those easily and not become infected.
Okay.
Okay. Resilience.
Resilience.
But I think that's a good picture. It does give you a good sort of snapshot.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And then number 4 is phobia. You might actually know this word already.
Yes.
Phobia.
Phobia.
A little bit, yeah. The general idea.
There's the picture to represent that.
That's one
I mean,
scary
she's not
cat.
smiling there or laughing, is she? No. Yeah, so in psychological terms, phobia is an anxiety disorder in which the individual has a very irrational, intense fear of a situation or an object, and there's nothing he really can do to overcome it. It's just kind of, it's there and it persists, and it can get really frightening, especially because I know a few friends that have certain phobias, and it's not fun at all.
Nobody likes a phobia.
No. And then number 5. We have tolerance.
Tolerance.
Tolerance. Any idea? I know it's just a picture of a bunch of pills.
Medicine.
Medicine,
Yes,
yes.
someone who maybe has a high threshold or is able to take in, I guess more than the average person, more like has a higher tolerance.
Mhm.
So someone who has a high tolerance maybe to a certain something might, a certain je ne sais quoi, but has a high tolerance, is able to sort of resist or is able to, I don't know, something along those. I'm trying to.
Very close, very close. Very close. It's actually a physiological process in which an individual needs more and more of a drug to get the same level of effect.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So if you're addicted to something, you need more of the same drug to actually feel the same high or the same effect of that specific drug.
Like codeine.
Exactly. And then we have flooding, but not the type that you're thinking of.
Short pants and.
There's the picture for flooding. So there's no water, there's no
Just too much.
overflowing of anything, but
So maybe flooding is when maybe something, too much information or too much of a thought or too much of something overtakes everything else or takes all rationale. Sort of like you get flooded with information or, I don't know.
An
'cause-
overload?
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of thinking.
Is that close?
sorry?
Overload, being overloaded with information?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good path.
Okay.
Ooh, nice, nice.
Basically, it's a flooding therapy. So in this case, it's more of a noun, and it's related to phobia. So to treat phobia, you need the flooding therapy method, which includes, so let's say you're afraid of spiders. What they will do, they will expose you to a spider, to a real spider, slowly. Maybe a picture first. Next thing you know, you're actually seeing the thing very far away from you. And then with that exposure, you're eventually going to be comfortable with it. That's the whole point. I mean, it's very scary at first.
Yeah.
And the last one we have.
Tree panning.
It's actually the emphasis is on trepanning.
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 Never heard of this word.
So this one, I got a picture for you.
Oh my God.
Got a picture for you here.
Looks like a
Oh,
lobotomy.
wow.
Something of that sort, yeah.
Looks like they're digging in and they're gonna extract something, or they're gonna, just doesn't look comfortable.
No. So basically, in the Middle Ages, there was a surgical procedure called trepanning
Mhm.
that was used to basically whenever someone would feel, anything that they would feel. So any kind of emotion, especially a negative emotion, they would come to a doctor and they wouldn't know how to cure it or,
Mhm.
do anything about it. So the thought was they have to drill a hole in your head and release the evil spirits from you. And so that's what they did.
Wow.
So like-
Sometimes, surprisingly, sometimes it worked, but for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
And that's trepanning for you.
That's interesting. It's very reminiscent also back in the day that they would use leeches
Yes.
and the same
Yeah.
effect, whereas,
Mhm.
oh, your blood is evil or your blood is
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Let's just use leeches to suck out the bad entities or
Yeah.
whatever,
The bad
and you'll be
humor.
cured.
Very
So this
true.
is actually an interesting, because this is another play of it, shall we say, another
Yeah.
image.
And thankfully, we don't practice this anymore. So we've
Well,
come a long way.
yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I have to say, very informative.
Yes, thank
And
you.
it's nice to sort of see the different meanings explained.